Okay, so thank you everybody for being here. I'm very excited that you have arrived, and I'm seeing some new faces and some familiar faces. Just go ahead and mute your lines for now. We're going to be doing a little bit of sharing in a minute, but I wanted to just get us kind of started. So a little bit of background going on. So if you wouldn't mind, just mute and we'll get going. All right, people are coming in and I appreciate that. Let's see, there's a little background noise, John. Can you go ahead and mute all the lines? There we go. All right, and let the folks in. Okay. Well, thanks for being here. I'm super excited. I'm a little bit nervous, like I'm, giving a party. And I've never done one before, but we're going to have some fun today, and that's my main intention. And I love that you are here. So one of the things that we're going to be focusing on today, if you've been reading and following some of my email messages, is called the Sacred Synchronicity Experience. I don't know if I can produce the experience for you today, but let's just put that out front that if it can happen, it's going to happen today. Because one of the things about it is that these kind of things start to happen out of the blue. So I can't always predict that it's going to happen or when it happens. But I just know that there's some really cool experiences that have been happening for people lately. They're saying, I'm having sacred synchronicities. And so what is that? That's one of the things we'll experience. And I've got 3 things I'm going to cover today. And one of the things is really about just tuning in. And many of you know that my dear friend Alan Davidson passed away on Easter Sunday, a little over a week ago now. And I was thumbing through my text. I had one from him, and the last thing he said when I had texted him, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about sacred synchronicity. And he just wrote back, tune in. So now that he's on the other side, I feel that that's part of my new message around sacred synchronicity. So more on that, tuning in. And as people are arriving and you're here, if you would pop your hello in the chat and put where you're from, and let's use the chat to connect with one another so that we get to see the expansion that's happening with our message. So in addition to tuning into the experience of sacred synchronicity, and also learning to listen for what's calling to ourselves, our individual selves. Like, what's calling for me? I'm listening for the phone, it's not ringing, but you might find something in today's call that will help you to tune into that message a little bit clearer. Another part is what I like to call, a friend of mine said, well, you people, and I'm like, I'm a you people now. So how do you call in your people? And many of you here, because I've known you for so many years, and some of you are new to me, but for the last 20 years, I've been sharing the Strategic Attraction Plan, which is about working with heart-centered entrepreneurs. I've worked with people all over the world, and I've shared this process to help people to get clear and focused about who is a perfect fitting customer or client or relationship for me. And I've been a student and I've been a teacher of the law of attraction for all those years. And yet recently I started really asking myself, there's got to be more. It's not always happening like it happened in the past. Maybe it was just a coinkydink that it happened before. Maybe it was a synchronicity, but I wanted more. And so I'm going to share with you today my key message on how you can tell what you're calling in and who. And then I also wanted to welcome you today to my second act. How many here are creating your second act? Just pop in the chat. I'm creating my second chat, right? I mean, second chat, my second act. Pop it in the chat. Me too, me too. Because I think that certainly last year, if you didn't pivot last year, or in the process of it, you might be this year. So, oh, great. Sana says her third act. So whatever act you're starting here, welcome to my new act, my second act, if you will. And I look forward to hearing about yours. So that's kind of what we're going to cover today. And but I always like to start our conversation with a little bit of a centering exercise. So if you would like to just kind of set aside all the busyness of your day or whatever it took you to get here and be here, let's just set that aside for a moment. And close your eyes if you would like to, just whatever makes you more relaxed. And let's start with just taking a nice, deep, relaxing breath. That was so nice. I realize I've been running around quite busy this morning. So I'm going to take another one. I invite you to join me in a second breath. Very nice. I can feel everybody's starting to breathe a little bit more deeply now. And for your third breath, just breathe in whatever it is you'd like to receive out of being here today, even if it's a sacred synchronicity or a surprise or just something that you would love to receive. Just take a deep breath and breathe that in now. And if you will indulge me for just one more minute as you have this, creating this sacred circle with our people that have arrived here today. Those that couldn't be here, we put them in the circle as well. We had quite a good response, and so many people will be watching this later. So let's just take a moment to envision this global circle, this golden circle of global connected heart-centered people. Whether you're a business owner or gonna be a business owner, whether you're in your first, second, or third or further act, all is perfect. You're here in perfect time at the perfect place. And I say, we're coming together for an important reason. And I hope you will join me in that thought and take another deep breath. And open your eyes and step back into our call. So, hello again. All right. I love that you're here, and I'd love to hear from some of you if you would take a minute to just say, what was it that got you here today? What drew you in? What was it? Was it a nudge? Was it a tap, an email, a friend? Who would be willing to share with me and the rest of us what brought you here today?
Well, the email reminding, and what brings me here is I need to find a different word because I'm in a situation where using the word tribe doesn't fit anymore. But this is one of my circles that I've missed being part of. And so it's a joy to see all the new faces, and I'm here because I want to be part of the circle. I'm in.
Yay, Carrie Bell is in the circle. I love it. All right. I've been using the word village. I like the word village. Call it what you want. All right. Welcome, Carrie. I'm glad you're here. And somebody else, what brought you here? I know, you just couldn't wait to be with me, right?
I was going to say that I'm a Jan fan.
A Jan fan. I love it.
So I'm here. Of course, always wanting to see what you're doing and be involved in it, and and just keep up my own sacred synchronicities in life.
That 3 times real fast, and you get
Yes.
the toaster. Cool. Well, I'm always glad you're here too. You know, I can't be who I'm meant to be without you. All of you. you're what makes me. So thank you for that. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to say something as well, that I also miss hanging out with you and with this village. And I think there was a synchronicity that made me see the message about Alan Davidson.
Yeah.
And that took me to your message when you were saying that I have like a huge project, a huge change, and then to the email. And then, so it has been a series of things that lead me there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad. It just resonated with me.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what happens. We have these shifts. They're all vibrational, and you know, sometimes people vibrate in, sometimes they vibrate out, and so it's all really what's happening all the time. So I'm glad you're here. Somebody else. What brought you here today?
Jan, I'm here because I'm doing a deep dive with you and this Sacred Synchronicity in the next 28 days, or well, we're halfway into it. And so it's just wonderful whenever I do something, I try to do it fully and completely. And I just want to stay fluent in this with you, and also to support you and just this wonderful community, which I love. And it's great to see you, Marianima. Long time.
The same, Sana. We need to connect.
Yes, I love it. Cool. All right. Anybody else want to say what brought you here? You could also share what would you like to get out of being here today. Floor is open.
I'd like to say, Jan, I was just great to be with you on one of Alan's calls, and I'm just curious to learn more about what you're doing these days.
Yes, I'm going to share about that call in a minute, because talk about these sacred synchronicity moments. Wow, that was definitely one for me. So, yeah. And welcome. I'm glad you're here, Jacqueline.
Thanks.
Anybody else? What brought you here, or what would you like to receive?
I came today because I wanted to see who else was interested in Sacred Synchronicity. And I know I'm in your deep dive along with Sana, and that's really great. And I see the depth of connectivity that's really the resonating with synchronicity for me, connecting with people that have the same higher life vibrations and orientations.
Thank you, Joanne. Yeah. And Sana and Joanne mentioned the deep dive, which has now got a new title, I think. My deep dive. All right. But I'll share more about that a little bit later. It's an opportunity for you to take a deep dive. So has so been named by the people that are participating right now. So, well, today I just want to share a little bit about my story, and you may relate to it. You may, I think you will, most of you will, because I mean, everybody went through something last year. I mean, that was the global phenomenon, right? And, but my phenomenon started before that. I didn't need COVID to slow me down. I already was slowed down. And so what happened for me, most of you know that, and some of you don't, but I have had perfect customers for about 20 years. And for most of those years, I have had a business partner of Alan Hickman, my business partner / husband. And, you know, he passed away in 2017, August of 2017. And what's really cool about all the sequence of what's happening these days, and for me, is that in May of 2017, Alan Davidson, who I mentioned, and well, you'll hear his name floating around because he's now in the cosmic sky. You know, he passed away. Anyway, he pops in. He has been popping into a few of my calls. Anyway, he gifted me a VIP session. And I thought that was really significant for me at the time, because I have been struggling a lot with my husband's illness. and starting to feel really weary and like I'd lost sight of where I was supposed to be going next. And so we had this beautiful session at his home in Houston, Texas. And the outcome of that meeting was Sacred Synchronicity. I mean, I didn't know who to hoot about what Sacred Synchronicity really was about. I just know it was big and it felt juicy, and I knew something was going to come out of it. And I envisioned Oprah holding my book with the title on it, and I had all these, things on sticky notes, which I still have over here. I've saved all that. And then that was May. Fast forward to August, and Alan passed away. So guess what? Well, it's like my mind was erased. And so moving through that swirl, I've kind of threw out a little this or that. And then in January, I think of last year, I was reflecting that I was coming up on my 20-year business anniversary. And I'm like, I think I've done enough. I made a difference. Some people liked it. And I made a difference in the places that I wanted to. And I think I'm going to let the business go at the end of this year. That'll be 20 years, a good length of time. I didn't know what I would do then, but I just decided I would let it go. Well, I told my very best girlfriend about it. We blab to each other about all our plans before we tell everybody else. And she said, well, maybe you might want to sell it. And I'm like, really? Sell it? I like your thought. So I'm like, let me go think about that. So I was reflecting on that, and there was only one person who even came to my mind that would even be interested in it or might be a good fit for it, and that was Mark Porteous. And Mark has been co-leading with me some of my other classes. And anyway, again, this is early last year. I had a meeting with him, and I told him just the same story I just told you, that I thought I might sell or let go of the business. And he said, well, have you ever thought about selling it? And I went, well, yeah, actually I have. And I even have somebody that I think would be a perfect fit for it. And he goes, oh, great. And so I just paused for a moment, and then I said, and it's you. And he paused for a moment, and he says, yeah, I think you're right. I'm like, wow, who knew, right? So now I can look back and say that's probably a sacred synchronicity moment for sure. Anyway, he was doing a live event in Orlando. Again, this is before the big pandemic hit. And I attended. I went having the flu. I canceled on the first day, but then, something just nudged me to, eat a bunch of cold medicine pills or whatever, dope up on Advil and get myself on that airplane. And I did. I got there one day late, but I felt so invisible in that event. In fact, I really wanted to be invisible. Okay, I felt a little puny, and it wasn't in my, my power girl mode. So I sat at the back a lot. I did participate fully. I went, I would sit there. Now I'm thinking, well, I'm selling my business. I don't have to do this anymore, right? All those speakers that came up, and they were brilliant. I mean, this was the most heartfelt room of entrepreneurs and people. Everybody was wonderful. And I would sit there and listen. Well, I'm so glad for them. Right? I'm done. I'm so happy for them. Yes, go on. So I'm back in there having my little moment by myself. And then we come back from that. Mark was busy for a couple of weeks before we could speak again. And so we spoke March 1st, just, hey, give me 2 weeks following his event. So we scheduled it. And between that point of March 1st and the 2 weeks later, March 15th, let's say, global pandemic announced. Everything is shut down. The world has changed. And some of you, I know you're hearing my story again, but I'm just sharing with you that there's these pivot points that you can't predict. Like, who could have predicted that? I mean, somebody probably did, but nobody really knew. We thought, oh, in 2 weeks, this will blow over, right? But for me, all the juice and energy of what I was working on didn't seem right anymore. So I just took that little thought and I set it on the back burner. I'm like, not gone, not done, not over, just on the back burner. Now what? And so I think I taught one class, many of you were there. And then after that, I'm like, I can't teach. I just can't teach another program right now. But what I could do to be engaged in my life is I could become a student. And that's what happened. And so most of last year, I attended many, many programs, maybe some of yours. And I mean, I have delved into my purpose with Bill Heinrich. He offered that. Barry Alcatel offered a whole energy program. Barry Morguelan, I dove deeper into his energy programs. Who else? I just anything that came my way, if it grabbed my attention, I signed up because I wanted to learn. I wanted to sit in the student chair and receive and not be the teacher. So that's what I did. And I took a lot of notes and I slept a lot. And then I showed up where I was supposed to show up. And I did Alan Davidson's Badass Mystic Retreat. I think that was the fall. I don't remember the exact dates. And I signed up for his Badass Mystic Tribe. So I became in part of that. And I was tapping and doing his enlightened meditations and tapping. And just so many things that I had never allowed myself to participate in because I'm too busy doing other things. So here's what I discovered through all of this is that while I was feeling very smug, like in the back of the room, thinking, this is so nice for them. They're doing such good jobs, there was a part of me that was not willing. So that's really the first point I wanted to make today, is that nothing happens because I ask the question, am I willing? Nothing goes anywhere. So I turned it around to say, I am willing. So I would like you to just take a moment and write down, if you have some paper, what are you willing? What are you turning around? Where you've been sitting smug like me maybe, or on the sideline, or where you haven't really put both feet in the pool yet.
Fire.
Fire, who's that? Both feet in the fire, yes. So write that down. I'll give you a minute to write it down, and then I'm going to open it up for some shares. So, if you don't share, I will call on you. So while you're writing, last night I was in one of my programs that I take for me that energizes me. It's based on a 5,000-year-old Chinese energy programs or techniques, practices. And we all took a picture of ourselves, posted on Facebook that today I'm creating my second act. Well, that doesn't happen until I say I am willing. So I want to hear anybody who has something that popped up for them and is willing to share. And you can put it in the chat if you don't want to share out loud, but I'd love to hear from somebody. Anybody, what are you willing for? Hey, Carmen, I see you're on the phone. Welcome. Barbara, Corey, Naomi, Sue, Bridget's here, and Kim. Oh, cool. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Jan, I can share one of the things I so appreciated about you is your willingness to learn in public. And I did that this week. And so I'm just going to say, because I had a clubhouse room, and so I just jumped in and did it. And so that's what I'm going to claim, is that I'm willing to learn in public.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, you were like Joan of Arc going in on Clubhouse from, so you'll just see you, dun, 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 I'm here. So who else has something that you are turning around and saying, I am now willing?
Well, I have something.
Yes.
You have been listening to me and hearing me forever to talk about helping the oil industry.
Yes.
It's just tiring to even listen again. But since then, since we have been talking, actually the world has completely changed. And now my community is like begging me, really begging me, please, please help us to be more sustainable. Help us to overcome the shame and blame that is getting to us. We are good people, we want to help, and we don't know how. And I realized just now that really I've been sitting a little bit on the fence. I had the possibility to help and I'm not helping.
Hey, can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
How do you sit a little bit on a fence? Because I like one cheek. I had to tease you a little bit. Okay.
And just recently, one of my customers kind of told me that they couldn't sleep at night, they needed help. And I jump in and say yes. And now have a 6 months contract, which is related with sustainability and mindset.
Oh, that's awesome.
So what I realized now is that I had to do something like that for some of my friends in oil and gas.
There you go. You've been, well, I just took a 3-day online virtual event this last weekend with Red Elephant. Has anybody heard of those? Awesome people. Awesome, awesome. If you get a chance, you might like to check it out. Aman is the guy, and his woman, his wife, is Afreen, and they talk about stand. And what is your stand? And I had like a little judgment hat on, because I did quite a bit of work in that at one point in my time with landmark education. I did, quite a few years of those trainings, and they talk a lot about stand. So after I got over my judgmental moment, I decided, well, maybe I need a stand. I haven't taken a stand for my second act, you could say. So I hear that you have been a stand a long time, Marima, for the oil industry, and bringing together your skills, but particularly the mindset part, because that's not real prevalent in that culture. So good for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Somebody else, what have you noticed about what you're willing to now stand for, you can say? Anything? All right, well, we're going to keep going. If anything pops in, write it in the chat. Even if you're saying, well, I just don't know, put it in the chat. I want to see or hear what everybody is thinking of. So, a lot of this is in hindsight. I look back and I see, how did I get here from there, right? So I was there in a muddle. How did I get here? So one of the ways to get out of the tunnel, out of the frozen spot, I felt like the best thing I could do is take some baby steps. So some of the baby steps were taking other programs and being in a receiving mode, but I needed an action item. And an action item that I took was to write a chapter in a book that Mark Porteous was putting together as a compilation book called Soulful Leadership. And it was I think over 20 plus authors putting in a 700 word chapter. And I'm like, yeah, I could spit out 700 words, but what am I going to talk about? You know, I'm feeling kind of done with the other stuff. So meditated on that a little bit, and it popped in Sacred Synchronicity. And I went, oh, MG, Sacred Synchronicity. There it is again, right? And so I got kind of excited. I called Alan Davidson up and I said, hey, I think Sacred Synchronicity has reared its head, has popped up. And he says, honey, Alan is a 6'4" gay man. He has a colorful way of speaking about everything. He says, honey, I've been midwifing that for you long enough. Get that out there. Get that baby out there, right? So I'm like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that baby out there. And so I signed up for the compilation book to be part of it. And I'm going to write my chapter on Sacred Synchronicity. So it looks kind of like this. I sit down, of course, I'm waiting till the deadline. That's what I do. I wait to the deadline. And of course, now I have to put the words on paper. And I write the title, Sacred Synchronicity. Writers relate. All of you are probably very gifted writers. And we all get to that place where like, huh, what do I say? And I really don't know how the words, it's just kind of like sometimes you just got to commit. You got to take an action and sit in front of a computer and let words come out on the computer. And that's what I did. And I just started writing and and starts coming about. And, you know, I set it aside and I come back, but I got engaged. Like my message was calling me out. And so all of us have a message that's calling us out. Who is it? Like in this case, Mark called me out. Alan Davidson called me out. John Paduchek was calling me out. Lena was calling me out. These are some people that I was seeing on a regular basis that were kind of say, yeah, come on out. So my second point about how do you get going when you're in that place and you want to be at the next place, and it's so simple, is you got to take an action. Now the action could be all wrong. You could be all wet. It could be so stupid that only you would read it, right? But what's the worst that could happen is that somebody is going to like it as much as you do. So that's my second tip for today, is wherever you are, whatever is calling you forward, whatever message is there for you, take a baby step action. Whether it's sign up for a program, take a piece of paper and start writing. If you like old school, write it out. Send an email. Invite people to a masterclass. Hey, what a concept. 18 people are on the line today. I had 45 people sign up for today. And I have to thank you, Rob, for getting us here. Now, Rob doesn't know this, and I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit. Again, I kind of learn in public. I'm a truth teller on myself. So it's Monday of this week. Today's Thursday, right? Monday. Well, last week I was in the grieving part of my friend passing. Then I was in the red elephant training. And I'm like, there's no way I could do a master class on the 15th. Just no way. Regardless of what I've committed to and told other people, I'm going to move it. So I moved it, just on my calendar to Tuesday of next week, the 20th. And then I'm like, well, I should get my opt-in updated. So I go into my opt-in that I created for the JV directory networking event, which if you haven't gone to that, you guys, here's an invitation. If you want an invitation to that, put it in the chat. I'll make sure you get tuned into the next one. They do them once a month. Talk about having an action item where you have to show up and say something smart and be ready. That's one place you can do it. Anyway, I went back and I saw that 2 people, Rob was one of them, had signed up at the JV night. I didn't even know it because I forgot to check the box that said send me an email when somebody signs up, right? So Rob, thank you. You got me off. I'm like, well, I got to do it now. Rob's going to be there and one other person signed up. There's 2 people that say they're in. I'm doing it on today. So here we are. And Rob got us here. So give Rob a little pat on the back. So, so your second tip is your action item. So I'd like to hear from some of you. What will be your action item? What's something that you have been, you know, kind of sitting on the fence like Marima, maybe like me, sitting in the back of the room, hoping nobody notices me? Where could you show up that you haven't shown up yet? That's another way of looking at it.
And if I may, it's not so much what's happening like right now. What this is doing is reminding me that I've been already on the path. And if I start basically a year and a half ago with the organization that I work with, a men's organization called the Mankind Project, I wanted to be doing a lot of the trainings that were happening face to face. And I did one in September of, it would have been 2019, and realized that my health situation was such that the idea of traveling, the costs and things, that wasn't really going to work for me. So fast forward to last year when this virus thing happened, all of our activities in this organization stopped being face-to-face and started being handled on Zoom. And so where I was willing and where I stepped up is I'd been doing a little bit of Zoom hosting with some of our monthly calls that we had. And we were starting to do these online trainings. And so I stepped up to be a Zoom host for those trainings. And that is now expanded to where I did a number and a number of other people in. And then I stepped up to actually create a training program for people who wanted to be Zoom hosts. And now I'm stepping up again, where in going through the preparation for being a Zoom host for one of these trainings, I'm now creating the outline and the whole, opportunity to make it easier for someone else. And the best way to explain what I'm doing is when we're doing these trainings, somebody in the leaders, creating the outline and creating the material, I describe it as they're creating a play, and they've got all the dialogue for the actors as to what they're going to say, where they're going to go. What they don't have is the stage directions. And that's the Zoom host's responsibility, is to know when to show a particular video, when to break into a breakout room, sort of that timing. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm creating the script to fill in the stage directions for these various, and there's dozens of these courses for me to work on. So so I think I'm already putting into place this idea of taking a stand and getting into action. And I'm doing that even though I have what I consider a 5-hour working day, because I still have a lot of my major health issues that take a lot of my focus.
Good for you, Carrie. I love that. And that's such a huge value for people. I know Carrie well, we've known each other for many, many moons. And he's the one that first talked me through getting on Zoom because I was still using the old free conference call services. And I was like, no, I know this, I can do this, you know. So he said, I'll hold your hand, and you've been doing that. So you're perfect for that. All right, cool. Anybody else? What's something that you are bringing forward or taking a stand for your second act?
I'll bring up mine, Jan.
Yeah,
How's that?
yours,
We went,
more.
yeah. So when COVID started, we decided to start live broadcasting and teaching other people how to do that. And we started a broadcast daily that still continues now once a week. So we started all of that, and I got a couple of other people going with product creation. They had some things that they wanted to get out into the world and really didn't know how to do that. So taking a
You
stand to help people be more visible.
Yeah, you're so good at that. If anybody's listening wants to be more visible and using social media and video as their platform, John's your go-to person. He's been mine for years. He's very safe, you know, like I always feel calm when I talk to John. It's like, okay, all is well. We can do this. It's not that scary, big scary monster thing that I thought it was. So yeah. All right. So what I want to do is I want to introduce to you my last piece. Is talking about connecting to your people. We've been talking about, you know, what's calling you, a little bit of many things today. So one of the things that I mentioned early on in my introduction is that I've been a law of attraction teacher for 20 years. And applying it to business, I would say I was probably one of the pioneers in that topic. And that came after a long sales career in corporate America, and you know, sales, everything since I was 24 years old. And ultimately, I thought, you know, at some point I would be that forever, but I got to be a VP of sales at some point and realized I need more. I need to satisfy my soul. So I stepped away from that kind of a work environment. It took me about 3 years to figure out where I wanted to go next. And that's when the Attracting Perfect Customers message was really born. And I started working with entrepreneurs. My partner and I, Stacy, we were just two ladies who had both left corporate America. I had a background in sales. She had one in marketing. And we started using our day timer, which is old school. We just pencil in when we wanted to do a workshop, and they started filling up. We used our own method to find out who was our perfect customer. And then we started teaching the workshops, and word spread. And something called the internet became very popular. And our book was about to be released. And we knew we needed to get a global message in a global format. And that's when we started to expand our wings that way. So I've been doing that for all these many years. And that's how I met many of you. But here we are for the second act, and I'm wanting more. I want more than what I got using the law of attraction. And my strategic attraction planning process is all about getting clear. And I still recommend it. It's all about getting clear about who a perfect customer is. You describe them, and then you go into what makes them tick, you know, me and them, you know, our heart, soul, what we tick the same about. Then we talk about in the third part what I want and how I want my business to look and what I want people to expect of me. That's part 3. And then the fourth part is where we step into the being as someone that has all of that, and then take attractive actions. So that's a really great strategy. And I think that the law of attraction listens when I'm clear. I'm still a firm believer that when I'm clear, that things start to magically happen. And that's what I called in the beginning strategic synchronicity, that I do my strategy and then these out of blue experiences happen. And that's still true today. Yet I want more. Like that's what I kept, you know, getting nudged inside. I want more. And so this midwifing of sacred synchronicity, I'm like, and I'm writing my story now. Do I throw out all what I've done for 20 years? Or is a way to combine it? And so I realized that what needed more was me. Like I needed more because I've been so busy doing, telling others, connecting and trying to do, you know, what online marketers do, that I hadn't really been connecting into my inner parts, my inner connection. So I love our deep dive class because we were working on this together the other day. I'm working right along with the class, you know, playing, it might be a better word, but I'm, you know, I'm right there as we delve into these things too. That one of the things that came out about what makes me tick, and this was true for some other people on the call, was being a bridge between heaven and earth. I'm like, well, I really like that, you know, and that feels really pertinent. You know, I have two important people in my life. I lost 4 very dear friends in the last year. So it's not just Alan. I've lost my husband and 4 other really close personal friends that were always my go-to people, you know, for checking in and that sort of thing. But so this bridge between heaven and earth started to emerge even more. And just a little story, because at the Red Elephant event, I was grieving. I didn't know how much I would be able to participate with the group, you know, but I wanted to do my best. I wanted to be there. And so the first day was all about writing what your stand. So I wrote down bridging heaven and earth and making a difference and leaving a legacy of love, and you know, some of these things that seem kind of trite because we've heard it around, but I'm like, I think that's my stand. And then the next day we talked about our stories, like what is the story, and when people hear it, they're moved, they want to move forward with something because of what you said. But you know, a big long story just bore people. So we were working on our story. So they send us into a breakout room and I'm like, oh dear, you know, it's Saturday morning. I'm still in my sweats and drinking coffee, no makeup, hadn't taken a shower. Like, what the heck? Popped into the room, one other lady, and we worked together. And then the leader of that event made an appearance into our breakout. And his name is Aman. He's a guy, and we've met, but we weren't, you know, connected that well yet. But he worked with the other lady first, and then he works with me. And I told him what my stand is. You know, I just recited what I just shared with you, which is kind of lengthy. And he says, so your stand is connecting to the divine. Like, boom, like laser, right? And I'm like, right. I was like, you know, I'm taking it in, but I was like, it felt right. Like it resonated with me. Like clear communication feels like alignment. It's not a mental, it's like all pieces lined up in it. And you are the only one that know if that's true for you. So connecting to the divine. I'm like, yes. He said, now tell me your story. So I gave him my story of you've already heard just a second ago. And he said, so here's your story. My stand is connecting to the divine. And for the last 3 to 4 years, I have not felt like I've been able to connect to my own divine. In 2017, I lost my husband. And just last week, I lost my best friend. And through these losses, my own divine connection has had a retooling. So I say that to you because that's my new message. It's about sacred synchronicity. Now, there's another piece to this story about the breakout room. So I'm really moved by the direct laser focus skill that Aman was able to share with me, and I'm really drinking it in. But yet I looked across at him and tears were streaming down his face. And he said, give me a minute, give me a minute. He said, you know, I hadn't taken time to really connect with that I lost my best friend last week too. Alan Davidson was his best friend. And he said, I've been so busy getting ready for my event that I hadn't until just this moment realized I needed to tune into that. So it was kind of quiet for a moment. And then he looks up and he says, I just had a moment of sacred synchronicity. And I'm over there going, wow, oh my God. It was so cool for me. I've been experiencing sacred synchronicity, but I hadn't witnessed it like a visual. I'm a visual kind of a person. And I witnessed sacred synchronicity that, I mean, he didn't know I was going to be in that room, and he didn't know I was going to say what I was going to say. I didn't know he was going to show up, yet I just blabbed out, you know, my little, you know, dissertation. He goes, he didn't know he was going to get a moment as well. That's what Jan's into right now. And for my second act is helping those kind of experiences happen. So I'd love to hear from you. What are you getting for you? I see some things in the chat.
I would like to share that I have a moment of sacred synchronicity.
Thank you.
Right now. Well,
Yes.
It was a few moments ago, but now it has been reconfirmed.
Mm-hmm.
This morning I have a meeting with this client, and he said he wants to connect with the values. He wants to align with the values of the C-level of the customers and wants to deliver to their expectations. And I said, no. You have to take a stand for what you believe in. And those customers that are aligned will show up. You know what's the moment of sacred synchronicity? That this is the first time in my whole business career that I had used the expression, take a stand.
Wow.
I swear to you, I had no idea where it came from. I was this morning in a piece of paper before at the meeting, that came up. So I wrote it down. And when I had the meeting at 11, my time, I told him and he loved it. Don't you think that's a synchronicity?
Oh yeah, I think so. Definitely. Do you?
There you go. I do.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Beautiful. And Bridge, your hand is raised.
Yeah, hi everyone. So good to see some familiar faces and some new ones. Jan, listening to you is always so empowering. You know, whatever you are channeling, the divine or contributing to people is always nurturing and empowering. So I just want to say that. So what I'm present to, listening to you and what you're generating here, this evolution of your own offering, which used to be the strategic attraction plan, and now this is in this new realm of sacred synchronicity. So what I'm present to is that Rob wrote something in the chat about, you know, being pulled to the future rather than pushing ourselves. And that resonates with me because I've been inquiring a lot into taking action from a sacred place. And so, we are all good-hearted people. Those are the kind of people you attract, Jan, to your gatherings. We want to contribute to society or to people through our work, to serve them. And even what makes us tick or what we express as our light, our message is like that. We want to serve people. However, when we sort of actually take the action, sometimes we get anxious. Like these days, from a biopharma company that's working on COVID and cancer treatment, I'm trying to raise $2 million. And every time I speak with the investor or prospect, I'm present to that tension between being present, serving them, deepening the relationship, and aligning them as well as wanting the result. So making it more general, I think for all of us, there is that tension between wanting some outcome, whether it's money, registrations, whatever we want, as well as the purity of the message that we are serving people. There's a light, that divine light, that sacred synchronicity, where when you come from that place, you're an instrument for the divine, right? Or that's in a non-theistic language, instrument, something larger than you, and so on, your own inner basic goodness. We can say it in different ways. However, the identity and the ego creeps in, and it makes you anxious. There's a separation between you and the other person that you're speaking to. So where I am now is that you asked what we are willing to stand for or things like that. So I have many practical things I'm working on in my life these days, I just mentioned. However, I've never taken a stand or lead for communicating this particular message of the non-attached action from a larger context, which is in another context that is karma yoga from the Hindu sort of Eastern strand of teaching, which is a very profound teaching of how to, through the path of action or service, sort of align yourself with the divine. But I'm interested in both the heaven and earth, the practicality of generating money or results, as well as the satisfaction that comes from the larger context. So I'll just say that I'll take on being active in communicating that message. I don't know what form that'll take. Maybe I'll give an overview talk on karma yoga or write an article or something, how it applies to our modern day thing in a secular language. So I'll just take it on. I'm very inspired by what you're generating here, Jan. And I wish that ease, like grace and ease of action and non-attachment results for every single person here. Whatever our vision is that we are bringing to the world, I wish that for everyone here. Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. Corey, I see your hand is up. Love to hear from you.
Hi, everybody. Forgive the fact that I'm off camera. I'm in a place with very unstable internet connection. I just wanted to say thank you. I signed up for this event simply because I liked the word Sacred Synchronicity. I didn't know what this event was going to be about. I got the email. I love words, and those words just got me. So I turned up this morning.
There you go. I love it. Love it.
Now, one of the things that I have been struggling with has been in the area of motivation. Like people keep telling me you should write a book and you should start a business and you should offer coaching and you have so much to give the world and blah, blah, blah. And I think, yes, I should make a contribution. In Landmark, I said, I am a stand for contribution. But what happened was I just couldn't make myself move. I just couldn't make myself do it. I did all the research, all the planning. I just couldn't make the jump. Today, when you ask the question, what are you willing to do? Can you turn it around and say, I am willing? That was like a lightning bolt for me because I realized I was not willing. I realized that every time somebody said, you should do this, the rebel in me rose up and said, mm-hmm. And,
Yes.
and I didn't, right? And so I just want to thank you because when you said to turn it around, I thought, I'm going to make a choice. Before I felt everything was duty and obligation and responsibility, and you have to do this to serve the world. And I think I've spent all my life being the people pleaser and the good girl, the obedient, compliant one. And now I'm just like, no, I just want to play. But now
Right.
I'm thinking, I am willing. I am willing to write this book. I am willing to be a stand for contribution.
Yes.
I am willing to do that. And so, you know, I'm going to today do the outline for the book. I'm going to make that the basis for a course I want to run. So thank you. Thank you for turning it around for me. I didn't
Awesome.
realize that that was the crux, that I was not willing because my little rebel was in control. So thank you, Jan.
You're welcome. And there's your sacred synchronicity. You know, you read the words, and then you showed up. Those are actions. And when I say baby step actions, I mean it. That was how it was occurring for me last year was, you know, I had a lot of things that came my way and I didn't want to do them. So I didn't. But I took action on the ones that spoke to me. And there's a difference.
Right.
There's nobody behind me saying you should take that course. No, it came to me. It felt right to me. It felt like I'm meant to be in that course. And I want to consult with my guides, whoever you consult with on those kind of matters. Not my best friend. My best friend might say, well, yeah, go do it, but it's really about, I am willing to take that course. That's worth my time and investment.
And would you follow your heart? Would you follow what you
Mhm.
feel the Spirit's leading you to, even if you can't see the end point
I
or what it's leading to?
honey child, I'm just all that right now. I have been just taking the baby steps.
Okay.
And little steps. So I wrote the chapter. That was a baby step. That was a big baby step because there was promotion of the book and that sort of thing. So I had to get back into that mode, and that was good. And I was rusty. I use a system for that, and I hadn't looked at it in a year. So those are all good calling me out of hiding steps.
Yes. Very good. Thank you
And do
so
I know
much.
the outcome? Absolutely not. That's why I'm like this. I'm just open right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
yeah.
open and trying to not close up. I'm like,
Exactly.
I
That's
heard
what
something really cool last night, and it didn't hit me till I like to do a little energy practice of laying down, closing my eyes before these kind of calls. And it came to me then. Last night, the teacher that I was listening to, Dr. Barry Morguelan, he says, what do you do when you're afraid and you got to show up? And I'm like, well, I just show up and I'm afraid and I do it anyway. And he says, how would you like to not to have to be fearful? I'm like, didn't really hit me. What would it be like if I didn't have to be fearful? I mean, it didn't hit me till today. I don't have to be fearful. I don't know the outcome. It was kind of like, you got to be fearful. I like that was in my programming,
Right.
You gotta, well, if you don't know that, you better be fearful. My husband died unexpectedly. Alan Davidson died unexpectedly. Come on. Don't be fearful of it. Just let it happen. Let it roll the way it's meant to be. That's what we call surrender to the magic of sacred synchronicity. So,
and I think that what Bridge said about non-attachment, that really got me, because I thought, yes, I have to do this because I choose to, because I want to, but not be attached to the outcome.
That's
it's really a case of, Lord, do what you want through me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You take
Thank
the
you so
steps,
much.
you do the actions, you show up, and then you just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Surrender. And that's where the magic happens, is in the surrendering, I believe, is I would say magic showed up here today.
I'd say.
I didn't do that. I just like, okay, do a master class. Okay, here I am. We're doing it. So yeah, that's the fun part, I think. So any other comments or questions? We're gonna roll this baby down for a close in just a minute. So a couple of you have mentioned your deep dive with Jan. I thought I would just share that with you a little bit. I have a series that I've created. It's called, you're attending the first one. It's the master class, the Sacred Synchronicity Experience. So everything's kind of in that overarching umbrella of experiencing sacred synchronicity in some way. And I have two opportunities coming up. One is what I call B Camp, because I don't like the word boot camp. So and I love the bee. So it's a bee camp. And so it's a 3-hour workshop. It's happening on Thursday next week at the same time as this, but for a little bit longer. It's 3 hours. And you will have a sacred synchronicity experience then. We'll go a little bit deeper into some of these things. We'll be talking about calling in your village, your tribe, however you want to call it, your people. We'll be experiencing more of that, and just more on bringing forth who you want to be known for, what your second act is going to start looking like, how you can get going. So that's next week on Thursday. That John, you want to just post some of these links? Anyway, I'm giving you two things. I don't want to confuse you, but as an offer, the B Camp is $47. I'm doing a really super introductory price. Later on, I plan to increase that, but right now it's $47. You can buy it as a standalone. And then the deep dive that Sana and Joanne mentioned earlier is what I call 28 days to be seen, be heard, and be you. And that's 5 calls in a row. It's a mastermind group. And so you can get the VCAM and see how you like it. If you want to do more, you can decide later. But of course, there's an incentive. You'll save a little bit of money. If you want to be all of it, I'm combining it as a package of $250 to do the B Camp. And then the following Thursday, we start into the new 5 sessions of 28 days to be seen, be heard, be you. So maybe, I know, John, I want you to share what you told me earlier about your experience in the B Camp. So, and maybe somebody else can mention their 28-day experience.
Yeah, I can do that. So it was funny when I went to B Camp when you first put it on, and I said, gosh, I have so many different things going on at the moment. Am I really going to be able to focus in on this? Just kind of really be present with everything that was going to happen in that class that day. Because I got about 80 million projects going on, as you know, at one time. And amazingly, it turned out to be perfect because it allowed me to just kind of be present with what was going on and, be able to sit in and take things a little bit further. And sometimes it's important for us to just kind of sit into who we really are and just kind of go with the flow. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but it was a great experience.
Good. Yeah, I mean, so many times we're just so busy on our life and the things we're doing. So anyway, anybody from 28 days, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you have any.
I'm happy to go ahead and talk about 28 days.
Okay.
I have been loving it. I love the idea of the deep dive that, Sana and Joanne were mentioning, calling it a deep dive, because it is. It's kind of like, for me, it's a space it's not just about learning, it's about showing up and experiencing ourselves in a different way. At least that's how I am, and being witnessed by the other people in the group, because people don't get called to this unless they're really called to it. And so I have found that it's a high level of people that have done a lot of work already, and it turns into these magnificent conversations that helps us to draw out what's next for us.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's sacred synchronicity moments, you know, on an ongoing basis. So you get to be with those kind of people that bring out your magnificence and see you, because we can't see ourselves. We've got to have our soul friends reflecting it to us. And this is a good venue for that. I was just going to read what Joanne put. Thank you, Lena.
You're welcome.
She said,
But
Joanne
Jen,
said, what?
clarification question.
Mhm.
So on the 28 days, you said it's, 5 calls,
Hmm.
and that, is that all, like all in one week, or
Oh, no. It's once a week for 5 calls.
for 5 calls?
Yeah,
Okay.
once a
And
week.
the calls are a couple of hours,
They're 90 minutes.
90 minutes. Okay,
The B camp is 3 hours,
right.
and then the other one is 90.
And what day and time are you doing the calls usually?
It's all on Thursdays. So the B camp is at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern for 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay. And then the 28 days is on the following Thursday, and it's at the same time, 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, but it's a 90-minute.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, Joanne says here, I'm taking a stand to live fully each day for as long as I can, and I'm moving forward. I can attend to sacred synchronicity with growing awareness to my fullest possibility and my beautiful life with purpose and joy. I continue to learn, connect, and have meaningful purpose. And that's very important. All right, so we're going to wrap it up for today, but I'm going to stay on after this if anybody has any questions or just want to chat. But before we go, is there anybody that would like to say what was the value you received out of being here today? 1 or 2 things. Just popcorn style.
Connection, and I'm already doing it.
Cool.
Learning as we go, just paying attention to what's new.
Absolutely. Thank you.
When you take a stand, the worst thing that can happen is that someone likes it as much as you like it. What you said.
I love it. I love it.
Sometimes you do things by accident that make a big difference.
There you go. Completely stumbled into my new message, that's for sure. Anybody else?
In the spirit of service, you can take great risks.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank you. Big group hug. I'm sending you hugs, kisses, all of that your way. And just love you. And thanks for being here today. It's been a joyful experience. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I'll stay on if anybody has questions or just wants to say anything. So
Thank you so much, Jan, and thank you everybody for your contributed energy and presence.
All right. Bye for now. I'm turning the recording off.